Welcome to the Crazy Cool Family Podcast with Don and Suzanne Manning.
A podcast where we share with you great insights about everything family from over 30 years of parenting 7 kids and over a decade of equipping parents through our Crazy Cool Family ministry.
So let us inspire and equip you to build your best family.
Welcome to the Crazy Cool Family Podcast. Macy here, Don and Suze's third daughter, and I'm actually joining my dad on the podcast today. This is something we recorded last summer, headed into fall, and we're just talking about the fall. Have your kids gone back to school yet? And have you started building your schedule full of all the extracurricular activities? So we intentionally want to share how we filled up our family school year in the years past. We talk about all the activities you can do and how to use them to strengthen family. It's not just about filling your calendar, but being intentional with it. How to find creative ways to make memories and saying no to good things to create space for the best things. We want your fall to be full of family, football, faith, and all the other fun things, but we want it to really be full of value. So as the school year kicks off and life starts to speed up, it's easy to fill up our calendar with busyness and things that drain us instead of build us. Let's revisit one of our most practical and inspiring conversations about how to make the fall count. Not just more activities, but meaningful ones that strengthen your family's connection and culture. Let's jump in. Hey, Crazy Cool Families, Macy here. Dad and I are talking today all about extracurricular activities.
Yay, extracurricular activities.
Art, basketball, football, all the different things, music. Yeah, there's so many things that kids can do today, which is awesome.
I was watching the Olympics and badminton was on there, so maybe we'll do badminton.
Fast walking, that one is so crazy to watch. But really what we're talking about is, are they valuable and how are they valuable for kids? How do we make them valuable, and what should we avoid as we navigate the extracurricular world? And
how are you going to make your kid into an Olympic badminton champion?
Starting at 2 years old.
Right, exactly.
That's what we're talking about today.
Not really.
No, not really. Maybe a different week.
Yeah.
But it's just important as we fill up our fall calendars. What do we do? How do we do it well? And as parents, like, you guys get to lead the building of your fall, how to make it great.
How many parents out there say, oh my goodness, we're so busy and we're busy with activities, and oh my goodness, why do we do all this? Why do we do this to us? Every fall, every spring, every winter, we have all of this stuff going on. And is it really valuable? And why is my life just seem like it's out of control, and we are constantly in the car going to a practice or something that's going on? And is it valuable? And what should you do about that? So if you're one of those parents that are thinking that, or maybe you go, man, I'm not doing enough. My kid's 5 and he's not a professional baseball player yet. What do I do? Or, what am I doing enough? Am I being enough? Am I doing enough for my kid? This is the podcast for you. Yeah. Because we're going to talk about some of those issues. We've taken 7 kids through this journey. I guess we're on our 7th. Maddox is our 6th, is moved on from sports now. He's 17, and so we have one more playing football in high school. So have been through a lot of issues, and we just thought we'd share some thoughts with you about, and even Macy, I'd love to hear from your perspective, like, what was it like? Because we had a lot of kids, and a lot of our main extracurricular activity was sports. Yeah. And so let's start from there.
Yeah. And as you were talking, it made me think of, like, it may not feel crazy right now, but usually each parent gets to their breaking point. It's usually like that week where you have to bring snacks to the game and you forget, or you can't find the kid's jersey or cleats or whatever. And it's like you're going and you're going. It's kind of like you're this hamster on this wheel and you're just trying to spin as fast as you can. And at some point, I don't know, I watched my parents do it over the years, just be like, what are we doing? Is this really valuable? And how do we decide what's valuable? And so I think it's cool we get to talk about it. And we'll get to speak in it from a parent and a kid perspective. So Dad, you specifically, I'm going to kind of gear the questions at you. You were very involved
Since I'm the one that's here.
Yeah, since Mom's obviously not here today. you were involved in extracurricular activities. Specifically for us, it was sports. It was any sport we wanted to try. You wanted to buy the equipment. You wanted to get outside with us. You wanted to make it happen. You literally coached every one of our teams that someone, director or whoever would allow you to. And you spent time working on things with us everywhere you could in any area. And so one of the main questions we want to unpack today is, why did you invest all that time? Why in sports, and just why in extracurriculars? Why was it valuable for you?
Yeah, we did spend a lot of time in sports, and it was mainly baseball and basketball, although you guys tried some other sports. We football was another one. Volleyball was another one. We played a little bit of soccer I think Madeline played a year or two of soccer, realized I didn't know anything about that sport. And, I think McCade played some lacrosse. We tried that out a little bit. But mainly, I just loved sports. I love extracurricular activities in general. For me, it was sports. It's what I grew up doing, and so that's what I gravitated towards. And parents, I think that's okay. It's okay to share your passions with your kids. Now, as with anything, you can overshare your passions, or we can try to force them into our passions, and those are negative things. And
relive our dreams
exactly.
through them.
Yes, and you can.
I was a quarterback in my day.
So there's all kinds of dangers with that, but. There is, with all these things, they're good. If you can, it's good to share your passions, because we talk about it, Crazy Cool Family. Share your life with your kids. I had so much fun playing baseball growing up, and the teams we had and things like that. So it's okay to transfer some of that fun to your kids. And I love extracurricular activities because it teaches. It's in our world that's a little bit of a bubble, maybe, if childhood is a little bit of a bubble. They're not, hopefully, kids do have a lot of adversity, but, hopefully our kids are in a good environment. It teaches them to have to work hard at something. It teaches them to be good at something, to have to, and they see the value in, if I keep shooting this basketball, wow, it goes in more, and especially if I do it the right way, and if I listen to instruction and then I apply it, I think that's so cool to watch a kid get better at something and then have success. I love I've taught, I think, probably hundreds of kids how to shoot a basketball, over the time. And you just watch them and you say, okay, if you keep that elbow in, if you keep this here, and all of a sudden they shoot it and it goes, I
can do this.
Yes. Oh, wow. And you just see them light up.
I am the next LeBron James
exactly.
in that moment.
Or you teach a kid to hit a baseball and you here's your arm goes up and they swing and they hit and you just watch their eyes light up. It's so cool. It's so cool when it's your own kid.
And I remember too, the running joke when I was in middle school and high school is like, oh, everybody gets a consolation prize. Everyone gets a participation
everybody gets a trophy.
Prize. Yeah, it's so lame, because I think there is something in us as like work drive and stewardship and endurance. Like God puts those things in us to like help us work hard. Like it feels accomplishing. It feels good. Even as a little kid, when you kick the ball down the soccer field and you score, or you make a beautiful art project and you bring it home and mommy puts it on the fridge. Like there's something that is in us, I think really strongly as kids too, since they're kind of raw and blank slates. Like to teach kids how to accomplish a task or a goal, or how to build a habit to get good at something, it's so valuable. And
that's why one of the things I tell parents a lot is that when you're helping your kids get better at a sport, or you're watching them get better at a sport, compare to where they are versus where they go. Don't compare them to the other kids. Don't compare them to LeBron James. Don't compare them to the kid that's on their team that's this star athlete or whatever. Just, hey, you're making progress towards the goal. Right now, for example, McCade is playing freshman football. Mm-hmm. And so he came in and he wants to be a cornerback, not a quarterback, but a cornerback. That's
very different. Yeah, I have learned.
They cover the receivers, and so we've been working with him, his skills on, and I just keep telling him, wow, McCade, think about where we were 3 or 4 months ago with your cornerback skills and your coverage skills. man, I watch your feet out there, and we're working with a coach to help him do that. And I watch your feet out there, and man, your footwork is so much better than it was before. Yeah. Well, that's what we want to do. And it's a way for them to work towards a goal. School's the same way. We work towards goals in that as well. But sports, there's just something about sports or music or something they're good at, woodworking, hunting, whatever it is, extra, because I mean, there's so many extracurricular activities. I mean, think about it. If you're a hunter and you take your kid out and all of a sudden they can now shoot a gun and at a certain distance and target, that brings value to them. And so another thing and this relates to hunting, basketball, baseball, whatever. It was a way for me to spend time with my kids.
Yeah.
Even the car rides, the actual, I loved coaching. So, I was participating at a different level. And parents, when you become a coach, and I encourage parents to do that if you can handle it, because it is time, and there's a different level, there's different standards, you have different prep, different ways you got to do it. But I encourage coaching, but that was a way for me to be involved with my kids and my kids' friends, my kids' friends' dads, or maybe even moms in some cases. So it was a way for me to really invest in them in a way that I enjoyed doing and they were interested in. It wasn't me trying to drag them out to do something that they didn't want to do. Yeah. And because, they wanted to play baseball, and I enjoyed being on the baseball field with them.
So on that, I'm going to jump down a little bit because you're touching on coaching and stuff. How do parents even do that? Like, how can they be their best when being involved in extracurricular activities? I think it's so funny that you said be the coach if you can be, because it is a time commitment. It is a decision, but it's also like, can your maturity handle it? Like there's always that parent at the game, so embarrassing, that's like yelling like he's more or she's more into it than the actual kid is, and you just see the kid on the side on the field just like, shut up, Dad. Like seriously.
Or you see the kid that can't perform without looking at his father or mother. Did I do that right? Yeah. Because they
am I gonna get a lecture about this?
Yeah, they so want their approval, and so I think that touches on a number of things about and poor Molly got the brunt of my learning curve, and I think Madeline probably second and you third. I think I got better at it I know I did as I went along. I learned a lot about how to approach my kids with just normal day to day being the parent, and then how to coach them on the baseball field or the basketball court or whatever it was. And parents, I think that it's really important that we talk a lot in Crazy Cool Family about encourage extravagantly and correct carefully. Yeah, encouragement is one of our pillars in inspiring your kids. And I think that we have this fear. There's two things that motivate our negative behavior as parents with sports and coaching. One of them is fear. We have a fear that our child's going to fail. We have our fear that we're not doing enough as parents. We have a fear that our kids are going to be discouraged, and we don't want that for them. And the fear comes out of love for them and love for ourselves too, because the other thing is we're fearful we're going to be embarrassed. Yeah. And it is, it's
our reputation on the line.
There is this embarrassment. Let's face it. When our kid gets up there and strikes out, there is a
sad
feeling,
especially in like t-ball.
Yeah,
like, oh, come
Can
on.
You strike out in t-ball? Maybe you can.
I've seen it.
Yeah. So there's this embarrassment for the child, and there's an embarrassment as a parent, and that so drives this negative behavior. And so, I remember a friend of mine who was a great baseball coach, kids baseball coach, said, hey, even the professional players in baseball fail 70% of the time. Wow. Because they bat 300, which means 3 times they get a hit and 7 times they don't. Yep. Let your kid fail. Be okay with failure. And I had to learn that as a young parent a lot. I still struggle with it, but like I found when I was coaching baseball, that when other kids got up, I would be coaching like first base or third base. And when when the other kids got up, I would instruct them in certain ways. And when Michael got up, for example, our oldest boy, all of a sudden my tone would change. The number of words I used to instruct would change.
Passion.
Hey, get your feet set. Hey, get your bat up. Hey, and I wouldn't do that to the other kids. And it was like, whoa, I'm a coach here, and this is not helping, and so doing your best and. Well, I think what was the question? I'm out for the question.
No,
now.
you're doing great. I think it's really good. We're talking about like how do parents be their best, specifically when it comes to like that type of situation, that scenario with coaching. I think one thing for me that as you're saying all this, I'm like, I know I'm not a parent yet, but from the kid's perspective, if the parent can focus on being the encourager, like even if you are a coach, like focus on encouraging and calling out the greatness in your kid. I think that that's really valuable. But something else that as you were talking, I was thinking like, I don't think I ever heard you or mom say one bad thing about one of our coaches. Like you taught us very consistently how to respect our coaches, how to believe the best in them. Like I remember there would be seasons where I would play sports and I would get like little to no playing time because I wasn't good at it or that position was filled by someone better or whatever the reason is. And instead of y'all being like, well, your coach doesn't know how to blah, blah, blah. And if that coach would just, you don't try and like create something out of nothing. You just say, hey, let's go work on it. Hey, let's go get better. Like you can't control when you get into the game. All you can control is what you do once you're in the game. And I think that really does apply to any teacher, music teacher, art teacher, any coach. Like your kid is not in a place of authority. They're in a place of submission. And so you're teaching them the value of like, hey, trust your authority, submit to your authority. And we've got you as your parents. We're for you. We're believing in you. I think those are really good things that like, that's a way a parent can be their best is to choose in their heart. It's not about reputation. It's not about like control in that moment. It's my job to encourage, but then also putting those values in your kids, choosing not to gossip about coaches or about teachers, choosing to help them using encouraging words instead of tearing people down.
Yeah, one of the things that really you were talking about, you touched on, hey, let's get better. I think that there's a few themes that, we're kind of going through here. One of them is just investing in your kids, being an encourager. One of the things, another theme that goes along with that is how long it takes for your child to really excel at a sport. I think as parents, we feel like we tell them one time or a coach tells them one time and they need to get it right then. But it's amazing to me. It was amazing to me. I learned a lot about how, and it's a principle of parenting too, that says you have to invest in something frequently and over time for it to really become ingrained in your child. And so
just like anything in life, like if you want them to learn their identity, if you want them to learn scripture, if you want them to learn about Jesus, it's a constant
and sports
reminder.
Is this way that you can do it, and it's just fun to do it if you do it right, to where like for example, when I coached a baseball team, all the parents would be like, at 6 years old, okay, why aren't we hitting the cutoff man? Why aren't we doing all this fancy stuff we see major league teams do? And I said, and I learned from a guy that was above me. He said, hey, we're going to learn how to hit, we're going to learn how to throw, and we're going to learn how to field, possibly in that order. And we spent a ton of time. And so we won a lot of baseball games at 6 years old because we knew how to teach them how to hit and how long it took.
Well, and you're building the foundation for them to build those other things on. And
it relates back to the coaches too, because you expect all these things out of the coaches, but it just takes time, and it teaches your kids how to work hard at something. It teaches them about authority. You're hearing my passion of why I like sports and why I like extracurricular activities. Music does the same thing. Hey, we've got to work hard at something to get there. And it's so, so valuable.
Okay, so we know it's valuable. We see how it can create this connection between parents and kids. yes, it is designed to give kids experiences, but as families, you can kind of like pluck different things out of it and really bring a lot of value to your home through extracurriculars. So let's talk about like, how did we decide as a family what we were going to do, how much we were going to do, and especially if you have several children, how do you decide? How did your mom decide how to build out activities for the family?
Yeah, we had a lot of logistical issues. I mean, we would we would carry a newborn, I mean, like a 1-day-old newborn to the basketball game. I mean, it happened more than once. Suzanne would be in the hospital, and we would, and she
there was one baby that I think it was Molly's whole basketball team, like they were in a tournament or something, and they came to the hospital to visit mom, like so day true. Of. There's like 10 high school girls standing in the little window, peering down
That's
at
so true.
one of the
and
little brothers.
We were, it was life. I mean, because we didn't stop. You know, we stopped a little bit to have a baby, or not just have a baby, but I mean, you had a 1-year-old and you had a 3-year-old, and
and I think really quick, if you're a mom or a dad and you're listening to this right now, or even as a grandparent, and you're like, oh my goodness, that's my family, like that's what I spend every single weekend, every single night doing. Like, we're not saying that's good, and we're not saying that's bad. We're just saying that's what we did as a family. That's what I remember my whole childhood being. Tuesdays and Thursday nights, I was in the car or in a gym from like 4:30 to 10:30. Like that was just kind of.
And it was because there were multiple practices,
right?
Or multiple things.
And part of it was me. I went to practice from 4:30 to 5:30, and then we went to pick up Madeline, and then we went to Molly's game at 6:30, and then we went out to dinner after, and then we went back and watched the varsity game at 8:30. Right. It just was like, it's what we chose to do with our evenings as a family. So if you're like listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, I totally resonate. We're not saying it's good or bad. We're just saying that's how. Well,
and that's
chose.
where, and that's something that people say, are sports good or bad? Are extracurricular activities good or bad? Are video games good or bad? Is technology good or bad? And the answer is it's what you make
decide.
of them. Yeah, and how you approach them. If you're going through those 3 events and you're mad about it and you're screaming at your kid because they're not good enough in sports, and you're bitter because you can't go do what you want.
Yeah, you don't have any time to connect with your husband or wife because you're constantly in 2 different directions.
About it,
Yeah.
So what we would do is kind of take each season. Some principles we had was one sport for one kid in a one season.
Yeah.
So we didn't play. We didn't have the capacity to play baseball and football in the fall. Yeah. And so, a lot of people do that with select baseball and football or whatever. Yeah. We just chose not to do that. We had too many kids and too many events to do that. We tried to arrange things to where, like if our kids could play on the same team because they were the same, close to the same age, we did things that helped us do that. And we did, like Macy's saying, a lot of times the siblings went to the games and they cheered them on, but it also helped them because we didn't have to leave them at home.
Yeah.
And so we taught our kids, and to this day, our kids really cheer each other on if they're in a sporting event. Yeah. And just things like that we, and there were times, I remember it seemed like winter in basketball. It was like, what have we done? Yeah. It seemed like every winter we would say, what have we done? We've done it again. We said we weren't going to do it. And so, and that's okay too. Sometimes you got to get through that last month and push through it. And then spring comes and it's like, it's going to get better.
From the fall. Like if you find yourself in the next couple of months being like, our plate is too full, then don't re-sign everybody up for another whole new sport in the spring. I think it's valuable too, especially in our area where we live. It's like everybody thinks that they just get to do whatever they want and they deserve, it's like this sense of entitlement. It's like a
buffet.
Yeah. And so it could be a great conversation with your kids to be like, hey kids, we love you so much. We want the best for you, but Mommy doesn't have capacity for everybody to do 2 sports and 2 activities, and you to do horseback riding, and you to do music, and you to do drama.
So we get to choose.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah, and choices are good. When you sit down and you say, "Hey, we're going to choose. We want to invest in this and invest in it well." Yeah. It also, I think, there's another principle here that parents need to hear is that you're going to see, and more, we are seeing kids, even right now, the government wants to put our kids in school earlier. Everybody thinks that in sports we've got to get, if they're not playing select ball when they're 4, it is going to damage their and.
Well, we have some friends, really quick, just an example of that. Their daughter's going to be a freshman in a high school, and she decided to pick up volleyball like this summer. She's never played in her life.
Yeah.
She's going to be a teenager, she's 14, 13, and her mom had played in her like early college years and stuff. And so her mom just worked with her all summer, and a couple other girls. She'd never played a volleyball game before. And I just found out last night she made the freshman team.
Right.
So it's like, that's just an example of like, don't fall into the pit of like, I have to spend $10,000 on my kid in select sports and personal trainers and everything. So
At
they
6.
so they have a chance to play in high school. It's not about that. It doesn't have to be.
And it can be, if there's like, for example, we played with Michael select baseball. But I'll give you an example of that. We played a lot of baseball when he was 8 to 12 years old as he went into select ball, I think at 9 actually. Had a great team, great experience.
Good friends. People he loved to hang out with after, like on the weekends and stuff.
But at 12 years old, and we played a lot of, and we had a major select team. So it was a team that could compete with anyone. At 12 years old, he came to me. He said, "Dad, I don't want to play baseball anymore, and I'm done." And I think a lot of it was because he got burned out. Yeah. The other thing I'll say about that is, college sport. People have this idea that my kid's going to play a college sport, and that's again worthy idea if the kid's passionate about baseball or football or whatever, or tennis or whatever it is, gymnastics. But realize, parents, that, and I talk to my kids about this, that college sports has a whole new commitment. They may get that scholarship, but it's going to be a whole new experience. Yeah. And most of our kids don't qualify for the D1 scholarship, that the schools that a lot of people want to go to. So, what I said in my kids, you were talking about how to do this, Macy. One of the things I said is I want my kids to have a good high school experience at a sport they love. And so if that goes to college, then so be it. But if it doesn't, which is most likely, then let's work towards them being the best they can in high school and enjoying that. And also being able to take a sport with them. Like we have family basketball games now because everybody played basketball. We can throw a football together. We could, play spike ball together or whatever it is. And it's because our kids have, participated in those kind of activities.
Well, and we're talking a lot about sports because that's what our family did a lot of, but we branched out too. Mackenzie was and is an amazing artist, and she took art classes all through high school. Maddox just recently picked up the piano, and he's constantly playing upstairs. I know guitar. Dad knows guitar. Michael's learning guitar. It's like we chose to focus our family on basketball because that's what Dad loved, and it was so fun. But we also tried other things, and so I think I kind of want to wrap this up. If you have any more thoughts. I think a main takeaway from me that I want to make sure gets communicated is talk about it. Like, it's so valuable to sit down and have a conversation. If your kid is 4 or 14, it doesn't matter. Sit down and just say, hey, what do you like to do? Like, what are you discovering about yourself in this season? And how can I help, grow that passion? If you have a high school boy or a high school girl and they sit at home all day on their phone and they don't do anything, talk to them, ask them hey, do you want to take art classes? Do you want to, go learn badminton? Just see there's so much out there kids can do, but we as parents or guardians or people who get to take care of this next generation, we have to kind of help them and point them in a direction if they feel like they don't know what they want to do.
Yeah, there's this thought about helping them without forcing them, and just it goes back to the themes of Crazy Cool Family. Be relational, ask questions, try to draw them out, and
don't be accusatory. Why don't you do anything? Your friends play sports. Why don't you play sports? It's like no. Come at it with an open-ended.
The same way with working hard. I mean, I think there's another just great topic to just delve into a little bit. Hey, those kids are working so much harder than you. There's a difference between doing that in an encouraging way and doing that in an accusatory way.
Critical, judgmental, comparing. If you find yourself having those kinds of phrases come out of your mouth, just stop talking and go back to like you and God and figure out, okay, is it about my reputation? Am I embarrassed by the choices my kid has made? And then from there, be like, okay, how do I have a healthy conversation, not a harmful one?
As we wrap up, I remember having a conversation with Michael on that select team, and he was frustrated because he wasn't doing something well. I can't remember what it was, and I remember with Molly, I would have said, well, you just need to work harder, or you just need to, I would have been more in lecture tone. And with Michael, I said, Michael, you're on a top team. You work hard every day at your baseball. I said, do you want to get better? And it reminded me of the way it reminded me was Jesus asking the guy, do you want to get well?
Yeah.
Do you want to get better?
It's your choice.
Yeah. Do you want to get better at baseball? Do you want to? I said, well, if you do, and then we need to work on these things to make that happen.
Yeah.
I'm willing to help you make that happen. Do you want to do it?
Yeah. And it's so powerful because in that moment, the kid sees, oh, my dad's not disappointed. My dad's not mad. He's for me and he's behind me and he's going to help me get where I want to go. But it puts the ball in their court, no basketball pun intended,
right,
to decide like, how much further do I want to take this? Do I want to play in college? What do I want to do? And so I think that's all good. I just want to wrap this podcast up with just encouraging you parents. Fall is in full swing. It's not too late. It's not too late to reevaluate your calendar. It's not too late to back out of some activities or add some activities. We encourage you this week, like, take some time with your spouse or with a friend and ultimately with your kids and your family to sit down and say, what do we want this fall to look like? How do we want to fill our plate? What do we want to prioritize and value this fall for the rest of 2021?
And even if you're in too deep for the fall, make a point. Hey, in November, we're going to pray about the spring.
Yeah.
We're going to pray about the winter.
Invite God in.
Invite God into what you're doing in the future so that you can have a plan for it, and you'll see that you will make better decisions.
And we'll put some questions in the notes, like we were talking about, of how to start those conversations with your kids or your teenagers, how to help build open-ended conversations. But we just want to encourage you as we wrap up that we are excited for the fall, and we're excited for the way you're going to connect with your families through extracurricular activities. If you find yourself driving and you're already stressed out and you're listening to this, just take some big deep breaths. It's going to be okay. The kids are going to get fed. The games are going to happen. And it's going to be a great fall. And so we're really glad and really excited that you took some time to listen. Have an amazing rest of your week. And go be crazy, families, at crazycoolfamily.com.